Good afternoon, everyone. It is David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office with another detailed tropical weather outlook and discussion for Thursday, May 29th, 2025. So to start off the video, here's a look at the latest GOES 19 true color visible satellite imagery provided by Dr. Levi Cowan at tropicaltidbits.com. And as you can see here on the imagery, there is not a whole lot of deep convection going on in the deep tropics of the Atlantic, and that's because we have a lot of Saharan dust that is moving off of Africa on top of a unfavorable MJO state. The background state just not conducive for anything to blow up or blossom out here right now, but we do have a very weak tropical wave that is now moving over some of the southern leeward and windward islands such as Trinidad and Tobago, including for Venezuela. But the most important thing that is really popping on the screen is Tropical Storm Alvin that is spinning about out there in the Eastern Pacific. And so with that being said, we're going to briefly look at this on the National Hurricane Center and then get right back to the Atlantic. Here's a closer zoomed in view on the satellite imagery looking at Tropical Storm Alvin. And as we can see here on the imagery, Alvin continues to show signs of better organization with now deep convection that is a lot closer to the center and is now rotating all the way around the surface low circulation, which indicates that the system is continuing to get better organized. However, this is going to be short-lived because as we look to the northwest of the system, we have a lot of this stratocumulus and stratiform cloud cover, which indicates that the air is pretty dry and really chilly compared to where the system is at right now. So we have a pretty tight thermal gradient that's located right here just to the northwest of the system. And once Alvin hits the wall of those much cooler sea surface temperatures along to go with atmospheric stability, the system will begin to rapidly degenerate and begin to quickly weaken as it begins then to turn to the north here towards Cabo San Lucas, Mexico in about 4 to 5 days. This is a look at it from also the National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook. And we can see that Alvin has sustained winds of 40 miles an hour with a surface pressure of 1,005 millibars. It is moving to the northwest at 10 miles per hour at this given time as of the 11 or 8 o'clock in the morning Mountain Standard Time advisory. Now, when we look at the latest 5-day cone of uncertainty from the National Hurricane Center, you can clearly see who could be impacted by this tropical storm over the next 5 days. And when we look at this right now, it does show that Alvin will continue to strengthen a little further with winds that could peak at around 55 to 65 miles per hour all the way through Friday early morning here in the middle of the Eastern Pacific, and then getting awfully close to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico and San Jose there in about, say, 5 to a little over 5 days. Missing Mazatlan, though, for sure. There is no indication there that you're going to see any impacts from this. However, you're going to see indirect impacts such as high surf from the waves emanating away from our tropical storm, as you can see here. So anyone living along the coast here definitely needs to be heeding any advice by lifeguards. If you see a red flag or a pink flag up, that means stay away from the water because rip current risk is definitely going to be a thing with this system as it passes well offshore of the Mexico coast. Now, with that being said, let's take a look at the Atlantic side of things, such as the Caribbean, the Gulf, and the Southwestern Atlantic, because there is still indication from our global models and some of our ensembles that something could still develop in the Caribbean beyond the 9th of June, possibly even the 10th, and beyond in the middle of June, and perhaps even beyond that. So with that being said, here's a look at the latest GFS model. This is the Global Forecasting System model, the American. And as we look at this, you can see the color shading, the 3-plot system that I like to use in this video. The color shading in yellows, oranges, and reds indicate how much spin there is in the atmosphere. So you can kind of think about this as like a model that is able to find any spin in the atmosphere at 5,000 feet above the surface. And we use this basically to diagnose where tropical storms or where hurricanes are And then, of course, your wind barbs are telling us which way the wind is coming from. So we got winds that are doing this right now in the Caribbean that are coming out of the southeast and the western Gulf. And that's because we have this big, nice ridge of high pressure that is located over the southwestern Atlantic, over the Bahamas, and the southeastern United States. And so when we put this into motion, you can see nothing really spins up right away over the next 7 days. So the 7-day forecast looking A-okay for anyone that's traveling to the Caribbean, such as Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, going to Cuba, or if you're going to Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic, not Jamaica, but Puerto Rico, the U.S. British Virgin Islands. If you're going to any of the Leeward and Lesser and Greater Antilles, you name it, looking pretty good, including for anyone that lives down here in Venezuela, in Central America. However, though, it's beyond this period, okay? We want to be clear here that while the GFS has been showing something doesn't mean something is actually going to develop. This is one model run, but there is that signal that is still there on the model that still indicates that tropical development remains a possibility beyond the 9th of June. So we can see that here. We got an area of spin and vorticity over the eastern Pacific here on the 6th of June. This is in the early afternoon hours on the GFS. And then we got another area of spin here near Honduras and Nicaragua. Okay, you can see those two different areas. It's this area right here that's grabbing my attention over that period of time. And that is because of where it's going to be moving into. Okay. So putting this into motion continuously, you can see there in about, say, 10 days, it's approaching Jamaica. Okay, Jamaica is right here on the map. Here is the Cayman Islands right here. Here is Western Cuba. Here is Southern Florida right here. And here are the Bahama Islands. And we can see in relative where our area of spin actually is. Now, this does not mean that we are going to see a tropical storm here or a hurricane. This is not a 100% solidified forecast, okay? We're using this for guidance. We're using this for signals. Are the signals there that something still spins up here in the Central Caribbean? And the answer is yes. There is still indication here on our global American model that something still materializes. I've seen this on X from a couple of people saying that don't believe the GFS model. It always hypes up. It's always bullish. La. I mean, it is truly bullish. It is truly aggressive. But when you have a very favorable background state that I'm about to show you here towards the end of the video, you will understand why that the GFS is behaving the way it actually is. And there is some fidelity here that we need to be aware of, okay? Even so, the European model and the Canadian model are not showing it, does not mean we could just say, oh, it's not going to develop and the GFS is an outlier. Of course, the GFS could be an outlier, but again, given the background state is conducive for that, we do need to watch this. We really do. I don't like doing this to get views, to get clicks and stuff. It is science that we're looking at here. And the model tells us that, yeah, something could actually spin up down here in the Southern Caribbean in about 10 days or so, maybe a little sooner. So here's a look at 270 hours out. This is for Monday, June the 9th. And it is approaching central Cuba here. You can see that vorticity, that spin in the atmosphere that we like to look at, definitely evident here with a deep layer, low-level ridge that is in place here, and then a little bit of that ridge extending out here across the deep south and the southeastern United States at about this period. So because this ridge is mostly dominant and we have a lot of southerly flow behind this system, this is going to allow it to nudge this way on this particular model. And you can see as we go forward, you can see where it's actually going to go right on the west or eastern fringe of Florida. So like if you're on Delray Beach, Miami, Florida, if you are in, say, like on the northeastern side of Florida, like Jacksonville, Florida, just keep that in mind that, yeah, this is very far out. Don't panic, right? It's 306 hours out. This is on the 11th of June. It's a signal. This has been kind of all over the place, right? It's been showing something either there or not there. And so that's why we're going to continue making videos on this, because it's been waffling all over the place. What matters most is it still there on the model? Location right now doesn't matter at all until it has actually formed. If that makes sense. In fact, models get it wrong until it actually has formed. Once something forms, we have a pretty good idea that, okay, it's going to go in this direction over the next 2 or 3 days or something, right? Models are not perfect beyond 5 days, and we have to understand that, okay? So going out beyond this, I know I shouldn't be going this far out, but since there's really nothing big going on in the tropics, we like to extend ourselves. But when something really big happens, we will narrow that forecast down to 7 days. If that makes sense. So we can see here in 318 hours out, this is around the evening of June the 11th, you can see South Carolina and North Carolina getting hit by a powerful tropical storm. Well, not even a tropical storm, more like a hypo tropical storm at this point, fantasy land on the GFS, because our Canadian model, let's see, our Canadian model out to 10 days is not showing anything, nor is our European model on the 0Z run showing anything at all at this given time. But we will watch because, yeah, if it's on one model, that means there's always that chance of it developing. When we look at our deep layer moisture plot on day 7 here for June the 5th, 2025, you can see with what we're looking at here, brown colors indicate deep layer dry air in the atmosphere. So the air is sinking, it is warm, and it is dry. Okay, versus areas to the south where we have this turquoise green color, which indicates that air is rising, not necessarily rising, but it's really moist and more unstable. So we can see where there's areas of moisture, where there's areas of drier air, and areas where it's exceptionally moist, where it's more likely raining very hard there. Those tropical rainforests loving the rain down there in Central America. So as we put this into motion over the next several days, you can see moisture down here is going to pile up in the Eastern Pacific and Southern Caribbean. You can see it here really piling up. Okay, why is it piling up there? Well, for one thing, we have a Central American gyre that is going to get kicking down here in the Eastern Pacific. Some of that wind is going to wrap all the way around and just form this monsoonal, very elliptical, elongated area of lower pressure. It's pretty much where our monsoonal trough actually is. Then you got a deep layer ridge over here in the deep layers of the atmosphere. And so that is why you have drier air located there. Okay. So this is where our moisture is going to really pile up. And then in a little over 10 days, all that moisture would head into Florida. But again, given where this system actually is going to be at this given time remains to be announced. All right. This is very, 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 very highly uncertain forecast right now. And I would use this basically, what word am I looking for? I would use this as giving this a 1% chance, maybe a 5% chance of tropical development within this period. That makes sense, all right? Yes, definitely if this actually happens, you would get some decent rainfall, maybe some tropical storm force winds there along the coast of Florida, and then it intensifies into, again, a low or a high-end tropical storm along the southeastern coast there, and that would bring a lot of rain if it actually does pan out. Now, another model that I like to use, or not really a model, but an ensemble forecast, the GEFS, Global Ensemble Forecasting System. It's an acronym for that. And what we're looking at here is the shading. So we looked at our deterministic models, or our GFS, right? And the European briefly, and the Canadian briefly. And GFS shows something, while the other two don't. But what about our ensembles, which tell us a different story? And this is what we actually need to use a lot more often when it comes to tropical weather forecasting. And all these red areas, or this cloud of orange and yellow, indicates density. So we have a pretty good amount of density here of tropical storm locations, or if not a hurricane location here on the map in the Eastern Pacific. So this tells me that there is low to medium confidence in about 7 days that a tropical system will likely develop here. Now, the National Hurricane Center has not highlighted an area here yet, but if model trends continue and other models grab onto the GEFS ensemble, then they're probably going to have to start highlighting an area down here in the Eastern Pacific. But not much going on in the Caribbean. No tropical tracks to worry about over the next 7 days, which is good. And as we go forward out in time here, beyond or right around the 10-day forecast, you can see there is that cloud, just a minor area of tropical storm tracks that we have. Low density, nothing to be really concerned about at all right now at the very moment. All right, but there is that minor signal. Even so, it's a little signal. We got to understand models don't do very good in the tropics within about 10 days. You have to wait until about day 7 when signals really increase again. So we'll be watching for that in days to come as this gets closer. The GFS or GEFS ensemble really not indicating anything, and all these tracks are really weak and spread apart. So we're not seeing any orange area, no cloud here of concentration of systems, which is good. That means there's a lot of uncertainty in both the intensity and trajectory with our system. Now, another model such as the EPS or European Ensemble Prediction System is even more less bullish. You can see that here over the next 10 days. Pretty much the European model not showing hardly anything developing in the Eastern Pacific in about, say, 10 days. Actually, if we go back, let me go back in time. Here we go. In about 7 days, there is a minor cloud here of possible outcomes for something that could form in the Eastern Pacific. But again, nothing in the Caribbean or in the Gulf, which is good news. All right. And then as we go forward in time, nothing really forms over the next 360 hours, although there is, again, a weak signal here still on the euro. Now, here is a clear reason on why the GFS, the operational model, is showing tropical development still in the Caribbean and the Eastern Gulf, including for the Southwestern Atlantic over the next 10 to 15 days. And it is because of our velocity potential anomaly. All right. This is showing us in time on a Hov-Moeller diagram if any parts of the world over the equator that you can see the thumbnail is down here. So don't get confused, all down here. Okay, we'll show you a Mercator projection here in a little bit. But this is what we're looking at, our thumbnail down here in relation to the image above that. And so what we have here right now is an area of rising motion. That is why we have Tropical Storm Alvin that has formed and a little bit of sinking motion over the Atlantic side of things. But as we go beyond the 8th and the 9th of June, this is where a lot of the rising motion is going to take place. All this green and turquoise blue color right here that I've circled in black, that's going to be transversing into the Caribbean, into the Gulf, and much of the Southwestern and Tropical Atlantic. All right. All the way between about June the 9th, all the way through perhaps beyond June the 13th here, possibly even through the end of June. And that is why we need to be watching the tropics in the month of June. Even so, again, there is nothing developing out there according to the Euro, according to the Canadian model, or even the ICON model. The GFS model has done quite well last year and the year before that at indicating that if we do or don't get anything forming. So we do need to watch this, okay? Because there is a lot of upward motion, instability, moisture, and when you get that, you get cloud formation, you get lower pressure at the surface, and then if you get any of these spin-ups like that form, you can get trouble. You can. And so we got to watch this. So June the 9th here and beyond, we are looking at a lot of upward motion in the atmosphere. And when we look at the Mercator projection map here that I have here for you all, this is a better illustration at showing you all that. And so let's actually zoom in on this imagery so you can see this a little bit better. So this is the next, this is the next 10 to 15 days. All right, so this is all the way through June the 13th. And this is a 5-day average of the velocity potential anomaly. And you can see, look at all this green. Where is it? It's over the Gulf, over the Caribbean, and over much of the Atlantic. And as this continues to transverse eastward, everything moves eastward with time. So all the unfavorable environment is over the Western Pacific, Central Pacific, and the more favorable environment given this time frame is over our neck of the woods where a lot of us live, such as, well, I don't live in Florida, I live in California, but you know who you are and you know where you live. Yes, we do got to watch. But anyways, if you found this tropical weather outlook and discussion very helpful, detailed, and informative, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit that bell notification icon, slap that like button, and leave a comment in the section below this video. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts when it comes to this system that develops on the GFS? Do you believe the GFS? Do you think the GFS is hyping things up, doing Fantasyland all over again? Or is this real? Could this actually happen? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below this video, and I will try to respond to those as back to you as fast as I can possible. But otherwise, thank you all for watching today's tropical weather outlook and discussion for Thursday, May 29th, 2025. Have a great rest of your day. I will see you back here possibly tomorrow.